Housing crisis, a word that now describes life in practically every major city. From America to Europe and Asia, owning or renting a home is becoming unaffordable, even for the middle class. And no one appears to be able to do anything about it. But that is not the situation here, in the world's largest urban region with about 40 million people. Tokyo, while being larger than New York and developing at a similar rate, manages to avoid a debilitating housing crisis. Tokyo has significantly lower rent and property prices than other cities such as London, Singapore, and Shanghai. So much so that Tokyo has been dubbed the world's last major city with affordable housing. This is not a coincidence, but rather the outcome of a distinct Japanese approach to urban planning that is unlike any other country's. So how does Tokyo manage to be so big, yet so affordable at the very same time? Over the last 50 years, by investing in transit and enabling development, the city has added more housing units than the total number of units in New York City. It has stayed affordable despite becoming the world's largest city. It became the world's largest metropolis while remaining affordable. What's interesting is that two full-time workers earning Tokyo's minimum wage can comfortably afford the average rent for a two-bedroom apartment in 6 of the city's 23 wards, which is not the case if you talk about other countries. By contrast, two people working minimum wage jobs cannot afford the average rent for a two-bedroom apartment in any of the 23 counties in the New York metropolitan area. However, maintaining an abundance of affordable homes has some drawbacks. Green space is limited in Tokyo, dwelling areas are modest by Western standards, and constant redevelopment upsets neighborhoods, but the benefits are profound. People who desire to reside in Tokyo can usually afford to do so. There is very little homelessness here. The city remains economically diverse, ensuring widespread access to metropolitan facilities and opportunities. And because rent takes up a smaller portion of income, people have more money for other things, or may live on lower wages, which contributes to the city's lively weave of tiny eateries, companies, and craft enterprises. As political leaders in urban areas around the developed world grapple with how best to revive their cities in the aftermath of the pandemic, Tokyo offers a template. From the air, or from one of the city's many observation decks, Tokyo appears as a vast sea of low and mid-rise buildings laced with archipelagos of high-rises, each island marking the location of a station along one of the city's railroad lines. The Tokyo Railways Company built the line in the 1950s as the foundation for a series of suburban neighborhoods of single-family homes inspired by the leafy suburbs of European and American cities, such as Garden City on Long Island, a New York City suburb of single-family homes built along a commuter railroad line. As Tokyo expanded and housing demand soared, the railroad redeveloped the districts surrounding its stations with condominium complexes, shopping malls, and office buildings. Around Futako Tamagawa Station, the largest of these new urban centers, Tokyo knocked down more than 100 homes to make way for more than 1,000 units in new apartment towers, as well as a new headquarters for the technology companies. The communities around the stations have grown denser too, with apartment buildings interspersed among single-family homes. The population served by the Den and Toshi line has increased from 20,000 people to more than 600,000. But that is what you call an approach towards a better housing plan. According to Hirofumi Nomoto, who was the chief executive of Tokyo, said in a 2016 interview that we consider ourselves as a city-shaping company. After the completion of the Futako Tamagawa redevelopment project, he further continued by saying, in Europe, for instance, railway companies simply connect cities through their terminals. That is a pretty normal way of operating in this industry. Whereas what we do is completely different. We create cities, and that's pretty much true. But when it comes to Tokyo, things are a little different. In Tokyo, however, there is minimal public or subsidized housing. Instead, the government has prioritized making it easy for developers to build. A national zoning legislation, for example, severely limits the capacity of local governments to stifle development. Instead of enabling residents of a neighborhood to restrict others from residing there, Japan has delegated decision-making authority to representatives of the entire population, allowing for a better balance between the interests of current residents and everyone who might live there. Tokyo also makes little effort to preserve old homes. Historic districts subject to preservation laws exist in other Japanese cities, but the nation's largest city has none. New construction is prized. People treat homes like cars as they want the latest models. Between 2003 and 2018, new homes accounted for 86% of home sales in Japan, according to the most recent government data. In the United States, new homes typically account for about 15% of sales, according to data from the National Association of Realtors, and this is for a particularly popular part of Tokyo. According to a real estate website, average housing prices throughout Greater Tokyo have actually decreased since 2006. In 2014, the average price of second-hand condos was $27,890,000 yen, or about $232,914. This is above the US median of $187,000, but is a steal when considering that average housing prices in many destination US cities are triple or quadruple this amount. The question is not whether fast-growing cities can develop their way into affordability. Tokyo's statistics demonstrate that they can. Other countries like the US can fix their housing crisis, but will likely not due to NIMBYs. Now, you might think, okay, just change the zoning laws then? If the housing zones fill up, let's rezone and allow for more housing in other areas. This is known as upzoning, changing the zone to allow for higher density or mixed uses. But now you're stumbling upon another way that the Japanese system of zoning is unique. In Japan, the national government determines the 12 zones, whereas in American Euclidean zoning, the zones are established locally. Join the NIMBY movement. The NIMBY, or Not in My Backyard, movement is a group of current residents and homeowners who oppose new developments. Usually, under the guise of not wanting to change the neighborhood character, they show up at local meetings and oppose new housing, often because more housing means the value of their property won't continue to rise. However, in Tokyo, there is no NIMBY movement. Land usage is primarily determined by the person who owns it. Community involvement on new housing is not asked, and no one expects their opinion on what their neighbor is building to be taken seriously. All in all, the truth is that cheap housing in American cities is possible. All that is required is making the appropriate policy decisions. Thus, in concluding our examination of Japan's insane housing crisis, and how the country found a solution for that, it is critical to recognize the broader lessons it provides. Beyond the economic theories, statistics, and policy debates, it exemplifies the tenacious human spirit, the ability to learn from hardship, adapt, innovate, and forge new paths to regeneration. As we go forward in an increasingly complicated global economy, Japan's past reflections and experiences serve as guiding beacons for a sustainable, balanced, and inclusive future. What are your thoughts on it? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and ring the bell icon to always stay updated with more of such interesting content. Thanks for watching Byte Notes.